Hello students, I am Ishan Trivedi. Welcome you in the video lecture series. Today we are going to discuss about earthquake resistance building planning considering staircase and water tank. Before going to this theory, I will discuss about the failure mechanism of brick masonry structure. In this, failure due to opening in the walls and non-structural component failure will be discussed. And the later half is of earthquake resistance building planning considering staircase, which includes separate staircase and built-in staircase. And the next theory will be of earthquake resistance building planning considering water tank. So let us understand first the failure mechanism of brick masonry structure. First is failure due to opening in the walls. As we know that openings are necessary in the building in terms of ventilation, light and for the access. But the location and the size of opening in the walls affect the performance of masonry building during earthquake. During earthquake shaking or the vibration, inertia forces will act in the strong direction and in weak direction of the walls. Due to this earthquake force, walls are subjected to shaking in weak direction, which seek support from the other wall, or you can say from the strong wall. Understand? Due to this earthquake force, walls are going to shaking. These weak walls need support from the wall A, which are strong wall. Let us understand. Wall B and B1 seek support from wall A1 and A2 for shaking in the direction as shown in figure. The earthquake force are acting from positive x to negative x direction, and that's why its effect is acting on the opposite direction, and this direction is shown in the figure. Due to this, walls B1 and B2 need support from A1 and A2 wall. And you can see here, due to that, wall B1 pulls the wall A1 and A2, while wall B2 pushes against them. Again, wall B1 pulls the wall A1 and A2, while wall B2 pushes the wall A1 and A2. Remember this thing. Wall B1 pulls the wall A1 and A2, while wall B2 pushes. At the next instance, the direction of shaking could change to the horizontal direction perpendicular to that, and ultimately the entire scenario is going to change now. Now wall A become B and wall B become A, and the entire role is going to change. Now walls B1 and B2 are stronger walls and A1 and A2 are weak walls. Why this would happen? Because the earthquake force direction is changed now, and that's why the role of walls are also changed, and these are subjected to the direction of earthquake forces. Thus the wall transfers the load to each other at their junctions. Simultaneously, in the very next instant, the role of the walls are changed, and that's why there will be interdependency of the walls of A and B, and ultimately these loads are acting on the junction, and hence the masonry courses meeting at the corner must have good interlocking. For this reason, if the opening near the wall corners are detrimental to good seismic performance, if the opening is very much close to the corner, hamper the flow of forces from one wall to another, or it is going to reduce that forces. Large opening also weaken the walls from carrying inertia force in their own plane. And thus it would be good to keep all the openings as small as possible and as far away from the corner as possible. So this is what the failure due to opening in the walls. Next is non-structural component failure. The non-structural damage is due to which the strength and stability of the building is not affected. Such damage occurs very frequently even under moderate intensity of earthquakes. Some of the non-structural damages are cracking and overturning of masonry parapets, roof chimney, large cantilever balconies and cornices, failing of plaster from the walls, cracking and overturning of partition walls, cracking of glass panes, falling of loosely placed objects, and overturning of cupboards. So these are the non-structural component of the failure, which does not affect the strength and stability of the building. So this is what the end of the theory failure mechanism of brick masonry structure. Now, earthquake resistance planning of building considering staircase. These are classified as separated staircase and built-in staircase. Let us start with separated staircase. One end of the staircase rests on the wall, you can see here, and the other end is carried by set of columns and beams which have no connection with the floors. Here you can see there is no connection of walls as well as slab or floor from column and beam. The opening at the vertical joint between the floors and the staircase may be either covered with a tread plate attached to one side of the joint and sliding on other side, or covered with some appropriate material which could crumble or fracture during an earthquake without causing the structural damage. As these vertical joints are open, so there has to be some connectivity, and this would be achieved by a tread plate which is connected with partly with staircase and partly with the upper slab or floor. If this would not achieve, we have another alternate, that this gap is being filled with crumbled or brittle material. If the earthquake forces are acting, this would crack down, but the element of this staircase and the building is not going to damage themselves, and this is what we call separated staircase. Next is built-in staircase. When stairs built monolithically with floors, they can be protected against the damage by providing rigid walls and stairs of the opening. Such arrangement has been made in which the staircase is enclosed by two walls. Here you can see, in earlier case there is no wall, but here both the ends are connected with walls. In such cases, the joint will not be necessary. The two walls enclosing the staircase should extend through the entire height of the staircase and to the building foundation. The damaging point of the staircase is being covered with a masonry wall. Ultimately, you can resist the earthquake forces. So this is the theory of earthquake resistance building planning considering staircase. Now, understand the theory of earthquake resistance planning of building considering water tank. In our houses, the water tank are provided at the roof. As we know that elevated water tank contain huge mass which is inclusive of water at certain height, which is supported by columns or circular RCC shaft. As large masses is supported at height, the centroid of, or you can say center of gravity, will be higher due to its elevation. During the earthquake, the inertia force produced due to this higher weightage of the water and the earthquake acceleration may cause the overturning of the entire tank. As we know that inertia force F is equal to function of mass and the acceleration. But here the acceleration is more than gravitational acceleration. So there is one factor, that is acceleration, and the second is the factor of weight of water tank, and that is the mass of the tank. If the mass of the tank is higher, the inertia force acting on the water tank is also higher. Ultimately, the attempt should be made that we have to reduce the mass of water tank, or you can say the capacity of water tank, to avoid the, or to reduce the inertia force. Second is the location of water tank at roof slab is also matter of discussion, and it has to be carefully designed. The location of water tank at the roof slab should be centrally located. The water tank on the edge or corner of a building may cause imbalance in the center of gravity or center of mass, which results in the overturning of the tank. For small residential building, lightweight PVC tanks are preferred to reduce the mass of the building. Understand? We are going to provide PVC tanks so that we can reduce the weight of the tank and accommodate more amount of water. So this is what the earthquake resistance planning of building considering water tank. I am ending this session here. I hope you have learned the basic principles of behavior of earthquake and how this would affect to the various building components. Thanks for watching this video.